Shalawam. This is Brother Stefano from the Verified Trinidad. Once again, come back with some not more precepts, King.
Shalawam as well. This is Brother Joshua from the Verified Trinidad.
Alright, and we're back here again. And today we're gonna go through a topic, right? None too in depth, right? And today's topic we're gonna talk about the men of old, to don't be like them, what to do better than them, right? How to be mighty as some men of old, right? We're going to go through that, right? Before we start, I like to give all honor and glory to the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, what is truth, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? I'd like to give a mighty shalom to all our brothers and sisters here on this video with us, right? The elect, and you all here on this video watching with us, right? So with that being said, right, we'd like to go on to our first precept, right? And let's start with the book of Numbers, the 11th chapter, right? So just a quick summary, right? This is dealing with the Lord after he delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt, and they're here in the wilderness. And we know the children of Israel, they're always complaining, they always doing this, always doing that. So we're just here to examine one of the accounts, right? One of the accounts that happened with them. So this is Numbers 11 and verse 1, right? And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord, and the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled, right? And the fire of the Lord burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost part of the camp, right? So basically, once again, the children of Israel always used to provoke the Most High, right? You'd always hear this, and you'd always see this story and that story, right? Because they were really provoking, right? And let's see what led to the Most High's anger, right? Let's go to verse 2. And it says, "And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire was quenched," right? And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell lusting, right? And the children of Israel also wept again, and said, "Who shall give us flesh to eat?" Right? So basically, the children of Israel used to do things like these, right? They were lusting, right? They were basically experiencing the the fruits of the flesh, right? You know, the fruits of the spirit, and then you have the fruits of the flesh. So the children of Israel were basically masters of fruits of the flesh, right? So they would always be doing these things, right, to get the Mosai angry and his anger kindled towards them, right? And they would always keep doing it over and over and over, like, like literal children, right? Let's go to the book of Galatians, chapter 5, and verse 17. Right, so this is the book of Galatians, chapter 5, and verse 17. So it says, "For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would." Right? So this is what basically was happening with the children of Israel, right? They were basically fighting against the spirit, and the spirit in that case was the Lord, right? So that ye cannot do the things that ye would, and something that they could have never done, right? Straight out and blank, right? For a long period of time was to stick with the Lord. They would always be thinking about this, always be thinking about that, always be looking up on other people God, you know, right? So it was basically a battle, right? Back then, it used to be when it's supposed to be the Lord and the children of Israel versus their enemies, right? It would literally be the children of Israel versus the Lord versus other nations and the other nations. So it's like a free for all, right? So it was like a whole free for all, right? So I'm reading this again. So it says, "For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would do." Right? So basically, you're seeing here, right? The children of Israel had these qualities that was preventing them from being with the Lord, right? So these are qualities that you have to check within yourself to make sure that you don't have, right? Or you can try your best to get rid of that, right? Because the children of Israel is really getting improved, right? Their whole body, their heart, spirit, everything was basically getting improved, right? So let's go back to Numbers, the 11th chapter, right? So, okay, right. So let's start on verse 5. So it says, "We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, and the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic." Right? So basically, they fell away lusting, right? And they were lusting basically on the things that they used to do in the past, right? But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes, right? So basically, seen here, right? These are some attributes that the children of Israel basically failed with, right? These are the attributes that we should be looking at to check within ourselves to see if we have, right? How much times we have been in a situation where basically it seems like there's no hope, you know? It seems like, the Lord put us in this situation just to suffer us, you know? How much of us has fallen guilty of thinking that the Lord basically put us somewhere that He's not gonna get us out of, you know? Right? Because the children of Israel, they basically felt like that, right? Because they were basically lost in, right? They were basically lost in, right? And they basically were fighting against the spirit, you know?
King, Salaki, precept, precept.
Yeah, King. I'll get you.
8 and verse 8.
Repeat that precept, King.
Romans 8, verse 8.
All right. Yeah, King. Go ahead.
God. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. Okay. Verse 9. But ye are not in the flesh, but in the spirit. If so be that the spirit of Yahweh dwell in you. Now if any man have not the spirit of Mashiach, he is none of his. Okay. So as you're saying there, lusting against the flesh, right? No way you could please the Most High by, doing these things of the flesh, lusting against the flesh. It's all about the spirit, right? The more you feed your spirit, the more stronger you grow in spirit. The more you do stuff in the spirit, the more you please the Lord King. So, that's like a way to not let the Most High get angry with you.
Calm. Yeah, that's a beautiful precept, King. Right? So we seen here, and I read it over because these are very good point, right? So it says, "But ye are not in the flesh, but in the spirit. If so be that the spirit of God dwell in you. Now if any man have not the spirit of Hamashiach, he is none of his." Right? So we seen here, even though in the verse before when it says, "So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God," right? We see in here these are the same attributes that the men of old or forefathers, right, basically suffered with, right? And we, especially as the new generation of our forefathers, right, should try to be better than them, right? Because there were a lot of things that our forefathers wish they knew, right? There were a lot of things. So this is the book of Matthew, the 13th chapter, right? And let's start from verse. Let's start some um, verse 13, right? So it says, therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and they hear not, neither do they understand, right? And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which said, by hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. Right? Moving on. For this people's heart is wax grown, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their hearts, and should be converted, and I should heal them. Right? So basically, um, the point more I want to bring up from this here is verse 17. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Right? So a lot of people, especially the men of old, wish they have this opportunity that we had. You know, nobody knew that, the sacrificial law, meaning the letter was gonna be done away, right? Certain people didn't even know that what prophecies led into this. Like, for example, Daniel didn't know exactly and every and anything to his prophecy. John the Revelator, right? Certain things he didn't himself know, right? Now we ourselves have this opportunity, right? That our forefathers have. Our forefathers didn't have, right? And we should be trying our best to make use of it, right? We should be trying our best to make use of it, right? So, with that being said, let's go back to Numbers, the 11th chapter, right? And let's continue from verse, right? Salakia. I'm trying to get something. Salakia, bear with me. All right. All right. So, all right. So let's go from Numbers, and let's go from verse. Right. Verse verse 5 again, right? So it says, we remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlics. But now our soul is dried away, therefore is nothing at all besides his manna before our eyes, right? So we see in here that our forefathers, especially too, were very carnal, right? They were carnal too, because okay, they were delivered. That was the first step, right? Didn't they expect anything else to happen, right? So our forefathers also too, and the children of Israel, right? They were basically blinded, right? And if you look up the definition of blinded, Slovakia, blinded definition, right? So we have here blinded. So it has cause to be unable to see, permanent or temporarily, right? Deprive of understanding, judgment, or perception, right? So we see in here that the children of Israel here, they were basically blinded, right? Confused with, look, this is a nice definition here. Confused or overaware, someone with, right, something they do not understand, right? So we see in here that the children of Israel, right, they were basically blinded, right? And this is something that we ourselves have to make sure that the Lord moves that spirit of blindness upon us, right? So this whole lesson, especially too, is to show us, right? So basically going through an account of what happened long ago to to um to gain knowledge from this, to make sure that we don't follow in the same footsteps that our forefathers went through. Right? You got our precept
God,
king?
thank you. This is okay, right? This is Romans 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. So you see, King, what is saying is that, you know, things that happen, right, in the Bible, right, what the Bible speaks about, what happened to our forefathers, right, is for our learnings, because through them, we going through, a lot of punishment, King. So what it's really trying to say is that we have to learn from the mistakes of our forefathers, right? The more we learn, right, the more we could believe that we could be better than them, right, King? So that in time to come, the children of Israel inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. Bring on the next precept, King. This is Romans. My friend. Romans.
Okay, king.
Done. Romans 10 and verse 4. For Christ, Hamashiach is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth, King. So we can't reach where we want to go, as the children of Israel. Can't reach where we want to go if we don't believe, that if we don't believe in, the Lord, that He will make things better for us, make our lives better, once we follow, in the ways that He wants us to do, and do things that will for surely please Him, right? And later on in life, we will surely be rewarded, in time to come.
King. Right, calm. Right? That's our excellent precept, king. Right? So all these things are to show you that basically, right, what was written afar from old is to basically help us gain knowledge on what to do for the future, right? So, for example, if you had a mother and your mother was like, "Hey, don't go down the street because when you go down the street, um, basically, if something would happen to you, you would basically lose your foot, lose your leg, right? You would basically go through horrors, right? You would basically profit off of that because you would save yourself the trouble from actually going down in that area, right? From not falling into a trap, right? Because I think basically later on in that same chapter, right? Numbers, the 11th chapter, right? Let me see, King. Right? They basically fell into a trap, right? Let me see, King. They basically fell into a trap. Let me see. Right. Verse 31, right? Same numbers 11. So after they were lost in and they were basically in the flesh, right? And they basically fell into a trap. So this is verse 21. And there went forth a wind from the Lord and brought forth quails from the sea and let them fall by the camps as it were a day's journey on the side, right? And as it were a day's journey on the other side. So imagine this, quails, right? Quails, right? So okay, right? Round about the camp, and it was 2 cubits high on the face of the earth, right? And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. He that gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them all abroad themselves around the camp. Right? So basically, they were chewing on quails, they were lusting and thing, and then the Lord blessed them with quails for the destruction. Right? So they're falling into a trap. You're seeing this here, right? And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, it was chewed. It was chewed. The wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord smote the people with a very great plague. Right? And he called the name of the place Kibroth Hatava, because there they buried the people that lost it. Right? So we see in here that basically our forefathers, right? We see in here that they basically failed, right? Failed meaning they will battle with a lot of spirits, and those other spirits overcame them, right? The spirit of lust, spirit of pride, right? All of these things aren't just written just to bash our people, right? And aren't just written just to bash our forefathers. They're written for our own understanding, right? They're written so that at the end of the day, right, we have something to look back at, right? Because at the end of the day, they are also examples of men we should follow and be like, right? Like for example, the most famous one that everyone's trying to be like now, Christ, Yahushua, right? So there's always that footsteps, right, that you should always be following, right? And you should always be trying to get yourselves together, right? So let's go to the book of um was it what I want? Second Corinthians verse Salakia. See okay. Um Salakia. I'm not finding that precept I want. Right. Second Corinthians 3 and verse 16. Right? Second Corinthians 3 and verse 16. So it says in Second Corinthians 3 and verse 16. So it says, no, let's start from verse 13, right? And not as Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the could children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished, right? So basically this is going through the account when Moses spake with a veil over his face to the children of Israel, right? So long story short, when he was dealing with the Lord, he would take the veil off. When he was dealing with the children of Israel, he used to come down back, right? And he used to put on that veil, right? And that veil is a representation of something that is to come, right? But their minds were blinded. For this day remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in Hamashiach, right? So we know that this isn't just talking about, oh, is this talking about the commandments of the Old Testament, right? Is this talking about the whole New Testament, all the Levitical law, all of that? It's done away with. No, right? It is a deeper meaning with that, right? Our forefathers didn't see the glory that is to come, right? Which is in the law of Hamashiach, right? Reading on. But even unto this day, when Moses is read, the veil is upon their heart, right? Nevertheless, when it shall turn to the Lord, the veil shall be taken away, right? So this is just to show also too that we are in a position basically where our forefathers didn't have, right? Our forefathers was there with that veil on their skin, that spiritually speaking, that veil in their heart, right? And it basically blinded them from a lot of things. It basically made them feel that all their suffering all their pains that they go through, right, basically was for nothing because they were basically blinded, right?
Okay. So like here, precept king. This is Second Thessalonians 3, bringing out verse 6. Okay. Now we command you, brethren, in the name of our Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, that ye, Salakia, withdraw yourselves from every brother that walketh disorderly, and not after the tradition in which, Salakia, the tradition which he received of us, was for yourselves. No, how we ought to follow us, for we behave not ourselves disorderly among you. So this here showing this here showing you that our forefathers, self, right? Like this telling us not follow in the ways that they did, long time ago, that, what they did, right? What they did have us to where we are now, right? And whatever we do now, well, we wouldn't surely know that what will happen after, so what we have to try to do is, be better, you know, than our forefathers. And yet self, our forefathers was very, very, very mighty men. So who are we? So this is showing you that we need to, be capable of doing our, be capable of following the laws, statutes, commandments, trying our very best to please the Lord, in all of our righteous ways. So, we shouldn't be following in our forefathers' footsteps, and they self are telling us here in this verse not to follow in their footsteps. Okay? And that's my precept.
Okay, right? So we see in here that our knowledge is being brought up, right, from these scriptures, right? According to that chapter in Romans, right? Everything that was written aforetime, right, was basically written for our learning, right? So everything in the scriptures should be written for our learning, whether it be the accounts of war, the accounts of sadness, the accounts of joy, right? Even this account here that we just went through in Numbers the 11th chapter, right? A quick summary. It's just to show us how not to be and how to be, especially in these last days, right? We know that a lot of tribulations is coming upon the earth, right? Let me get Sirach the second chapter, right? Sirach the second chapter. So it says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Right? And this is something that the children of Israel, that and especially our forefathers, right, that basically went through it and got overcome by certain demons and certain devils, right? This is what our forefathers basically experienced, right? Temptation, right? And we too have to experience this, right? Not for our downfall, right? But to get proved, right? Because in the book of Proverbs says, "Hey, gold is tried in the fire," right? You know. So I'm showing you basically everything that you need to know, right? Because when gold is tried in the fire, right, it doesn't so like when silver is tried in the fire, it doesn't be as mighty as gold, right? When brass is tried in the fire, it doesn't be as mighty as silver, right? So we know that we have to be tried with the affliction of gold. So in other words, what I'm saying is when the Lord is dealing with us, he deals with us accordingly to get us ready for what's to come. Right? So it says, set thy heart aright and constantly endure and not make haste in time of trouble. Verse 3. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end, right? So that's basically all the precepts I had to bring. Um, But Joshua, I don't know if you have any more precepts you want to bring up before we close up.
Can't select your thing. I have one more precept here I'd like to bring up before we
Okay.
close off. This is Isaiah 41 and verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Okay, so with that training, we're not alone in this fight. We have our brothers, we have, our Bashim to help us, in order to push on and strive in this truth. We have the scriptures, we have Bible, to learn from, you know, to build our knowledge, to better have understanding about things that are going on around the world and with each other, and better way to help each other. So this here just showing you that, that we are not alone in this fight. We have, each other, we have to be like an army, to fight off these spirits, these demons, whatsoever. So this here is just showing you that to keep pushing, we here to help each other, Me and other fan over here, helping you all, children of Israel, to have better understanding, to have more knowledge, So yeah, that's all I have here with that precept. So what I have to say is that keep pushing, keep fighting, and never give up.
Yeah, King. Right? So that's there, King. Right? So that's a mighty point too. Right? So brothers and sisters, remember that, right? Ah, the brothers are here, right? The the um the elect are here also to basically get us out of this situation, right? So the Lord is waking up more people in the last days, right? The Lord is sharing His knowledge, right? If anything, you could always reach out to us, right? You could reach out to the email, right? You could always there, because at the end of the day, we're here together in unity, right? As the brother Joshua basically said, right? So with that, about to close off, like the Shalawam. Hope you was edified, right? Hope we stay pure and not be like our forefathers who basically got overcome by spirits, but basically be like mighty men who basically push through this, right? Because there are a lot of men who push through this and stayed faithful throughout the end, right? And we should be like that. So that, I'd like to say Shalom.
God, Shalom Israel.
Shalom.